watching that 10-year clip brings me back to how we first met, probably over 10 years ago. But just seeing how far, Saving Innocence has come, and throughout the 10 years, all the progress and just the amazing work that we've done, and how much the organization has grown, and all the progress, and all the impact that it has had. It makes me start to think about our relationship, how we met, but also what was your experience like 10 years ago?
It's crazy how, as we look back at Saving Innocence, the 10 years, the past 10 years of what they've been doing, and thinking about how me and you met over 10 years ago and how much change has happened since then. There wasn't that much safe language. There wasn't even any programs for kids who were in the system for prostitution. Like, just seeing how today in 2020, kids aren't being arrested no more for human trafficking, and they're sent to programs, and they're asking the kids now, what happened? Do you need help with anything? When I look back 10, 15 years ago, when I was out in the streets and I had a pimp, I was actually arrested for prostitution. So a lot of the kids that I work with today, they don't understand how I was in jail with the prostitution charge, because that's not a thing anymore. Were you ever charged with prostitution when you were a kid?
I wasn't. And a lot more of my experience was just experience the school to prison pipeline. You're definitely right. When we both were in the system, there wasn't a different language. They used a lot of language that was very offensive. It was just a different experience for us. And especially from how far now the movement of trafficking has come.
Yeah.
And people weren't educated. People weren't aware. And some people choose not to be aware. We know that. But what was your process and your experience like from being a youth and when you first was exploited? What was that like?
Like, looking back at it now, I didn't really see myself as a child that needed help, a child that needed the services, because it was an actual crime for a minor to be out in the street, exchanging sex for money. So when I did get arrested, I wasn't thinking like, oh my goodness, finally somebody can help me. I can tell them what's going on with me. I was mad because they were interfering with me making my money. And when I was in the police station, of course, I give a fake name. I tried to say that I was 18 because I wanted to get released the next day and go back to making my money. But after fingerprinting me and, asking some questions, they figured out, okay, this girl is 15. And it has been a few times where I was in the police station wearing a wig or high heels and, the revealing clothing. And the police would kind of make a joke about it, like, oh, look at this young Tootsie right here. This is a young one right here. This is a little prostitute girl. She probably got a wig on. Let's see if it comes off. Just making a joke of it, even after they ran my fingerprints and seeing that I was a child. So looking back to like what I do now at Saving Innocence, it's just crazy to me that there has to be a trainings and laws passed for an adult to treat a child like a child.
When I went into juvenile hall and got arrested at 11 years old and started into the system, it was very shamed looked upon. But I did remember at a certain point when I first got arrested at 11, and I had like this big ponytail in my hair, like eyebrows was bushy, didn't wear lashes, didn't have any nails on. And I remember, I can remember the transformation of then turning 12 and 13 and being 12 and coming in with a tattoo on my neck. And staff recognizing, tattoo on your neck. I now have long nails. I have a wig on. I have my eyebrows done. I'm coming in with hardly anything on. The person who I was before at 11 years old, that innocent girl, was a completely different person at 12 and 13. The number one misconception of what people think is that the girls that we've worked with or the youth that we've worked with is that it's a choice. And when you look back on your childhood, do you feel like it was absolutely your choice?
See, like for me at the time, I took it as a choice because my mom had kicked me out the house and I was being abused at home. My mom was emotionally cold to me, a lot of physical abuse. So when I did leave and I was out in the streets, flipping tricks with a pimp, to me, it didn't seem that disturbing or that bad of an option because at home, it was way worse. When I was asked, am I okay? Am I being forced to do anything? I will always say no, because in my mind, I wasn't. I willingly walked out, willingly stayed at the pimp's house. I was not, held hostage. I wasn't threatened. I don't feel that I was manipulated. I felt like it was an equal relationship. But it's no way for a child with no income who's not fully, mentally developed yet to have an equal relationship with a grown man. And looking back at it now, I don't feel that it was actually a choice, because I didn't wake up one morning in elementary school, like how they have the school, career day, and they have like a veterinarian come out, they have the doctors, the police, and everything. I did not see no booth that said prostitution. Which one of you kids wants to grow up and become, not even grow up, which one of you kids wants to become a prostitute? Where was the prostitution booth at school? I don't think any kid will willingly walk up to it after being told that you're going to sell a very personal part of yourself to several men over and over. Sometimes it might hurt. Sometimes you might feel bad about yourself. You may not go home that very next day. You may not eat. You may not, feel supported. I don't think any kid at career day would go to the booth that says you get a pimp, you got to fight for, earning your money and being top ranking on the track. Nobody would pick that. That's why the girls that I work with now, I see myself in a lot of them, because some of them will tell me, this is my choice. This is what I want to do. I'm making money. Why would I sit at home and be broke when I got my body to use and I can make money? And I understand that, because that's how I felt at one point in time. But they don't understand that there's emotional strain, there's psychological strain, and it's a lot of wear and tear that it may not affect you now as a child, but as you grow and become more matured as an adult, it's gonna affect your life. I don't struggle with self-esteem. I struggle with self-worth. I feel that it don't matter how much education I have. It don't matter like what I do, that everybody can still see that little girl that was, ugly, the little girl that didn't have nice clothes, and the little girl that was in the police station getting called a prostitute. All the stuff I dealt with, related to human trafficking, I can grow and learn from it, but I can't take it away that it didn't happen to me. So sometimes I wake up and I feel that, I'm not going to fit in. I still feel like I'm that, the same little girl in elementary that was bullied, the same girl walking the track, the same girl that the staff was saying, you're nothing but a 2-cent hoe. I still feel like her sometimes. Even though people see that, okay, I went to school, I got my associate's degree, I got my bachelor's degree, I enrolled in a master's program. All that stuff is just a shield for me to make me feel that I'm valuable, when really the value needs to come from me as a person. But because I've been stripped of my youth, by being pimped, by selling my body, it takes more time for me to value myself as a person. So no, I don't feel like it was a choice. Looking back now.
You're worthy. We are worthy. These youth are worthy. These kids are worthy. And I can only, just by you sharing, I can only imagine what each and every one of these kids are feeling.
Like, or do you feel that, coming from a past of like always, being the disappointment and, people always having something negative to say about you, that you kind of unconsciously make choices still that you're not okay with, just to make somebody else, accept you into their social group, or, give you that pat on the back that you didn't have as a kid?
Well, yeah, because everything was always forced. Everything was always forced. And even when I thought something was genuine from my trafficker, or I thought something was genuine with other girls or young boys that was out there being exploited as well, it was always forced. So even when I had a choice in front of me, I still wouldn't make a decision unless it was because that person said it was good. And I think that's the beautiful thing about Saving Innocence, because you get to be the person, and I got to be the person that they didn't have. Somebody that knows what empathy is, to say, I'm gonna walk alongside you. I'm not gonna tell you how to live your life, because your trafficker did that. He told you what to wear, how to talk, what you was gonna eat. You may have a little decision on what your nail color was gonna be or how you wanted your hair, but that was all manipulation in it too. So I totally understand what you're saying, especially about like the choices. And that's so beautiful that Saving Innocence, and you just being an advocate there, that you're able to walk with them and say, okay, you don't want to do that. Here, let's try some other options, and you pick out the option. I want people to know what it's like to be in the life. And they could never walk in our shoes. But what a day in the life looks like. waking up in the morning, for one, not knowing if there's not a comfortable feeling that I might actually make it through today. Today, I might actually get killed by a John, someone who purchases sex. My trafficker could choose to beat me brutally. He can choose to kill me in any way he wants. But that through the whole day, there's no choice whatsoever. And when you wake up in the morning and you know that the only thing that you are going to have to do today is be forced to make money. And that's it. That you're a piece of property. And that's all that you are. And that's all that you'll ever be. Being called out your name. Being treated worse than a dog in a way. Like just being treated like crap. I just remember waking up sometimes being in life and like feeling hopeless. Like life was always going to be this way. And this is all I will ever do. And everything that led up to this point, all the sexual abuse, being 8 and 9, everything was my fault. I always thought everything was my fault. Everything. For a long time, I thought I was choosing things and had no idea that from the things I experienced as a child, all my childhood abuse and sexual abuse, it affected my thinking that I was choosing to be in the life. And it's all a lie. It's not even the life, this glamorous thing. It's all a lie.
Like when you were around 11, 12, when I had met you, did you feel that, like, how did you feel about yourself? Because I seen a little girl. Like when I looked at you, I seen a little girl, you know, somebody bubbly, somebody that needs to be protected, like a little sister for me.
Man, 11 and 12 years old, I was really lost. I was so lost. And because my trauma started in the womb, like when my mom had me in prison and being adopted at 2 days old and then being abandoned right in the middle of my trafficking, you know, by my adopted mother. She has her own trauma, you know, and never having a voice. Like when my abuse started at 8 years old, when the molestation and the rape, and nobody ever believed you. There was always this need to like fit in. Like there's always this identity piece. I struggle with who I was, you know, where did I come from after finding out I'm adopted at 10 years old, you know, right before me entering the life. I never belonged. I was always a black sheep. I was looking through photos the other day of me being in the 4th and 3rd grade. I was going through my yearbook. And you know how kids sign a yearbook?
Yeah.
Right? I signed other people's names. My mother didn't choose me. I mean, there was also, she couldn't because she was in prison, but my adopted mother chose to give me up, to put me back into the system. I was never asked a choice of what I wanted. So at 11 and 12 and being in the streets, and when I met you, yeah, I seemed always bright and bubbly, but that's always been my defense because I was so brutally like bullied as a kid. A lot of my life, I've always been searching for identity, and I think that's been my number one thing now in my life is finally having the freedom to say, I'm choosing to be me. We've never been given the choice. So of course it's gonna be hard for us to pick healthy choices because we've never known what that looked like, the people that we've role modeled. You protected me in time when I was 14 talking to a 28-year-old man. You walked up to him and told him, my little sister is only 13, 14 years old. You know,
stay away.
Yeah, stay away. And it was things like that I needed. And I'm just in a beautiful place, and I've definitely been appreciative. And Saving Innocence helped me when I was there to grow into this professional that I had no idea. And they gave me so many opportunities and just worked with me so well because that's what they do. I so much want to know, who are you today? What does life for Setrean look like today? What would you share? What do you share with the kids on who you are?
I feel that it's still a continuing process from when I was first exploited, because today, over 15 years later, I'm still learning how to set healthy boundaries, how to cope, how to be okay with myself. I'm still trying to undo all the trauma. I'm trying to undo all the negative and bad habits I picked up from exploitation and having to survive as an adult while I was a child. I had to fend for myself for years. I had to figure out things on my own. I didn't have, parents to go to and say, this dude hurt me, or my heart's been broken, or I'm scared. So now I'm still learning how to ask people for help. I take pride in being that TV mom, the mom that's baking cookies, doing board games, making activities, making everybody wear ugly matching clothes for the photo that I'm going to hang up. I like having memories like that so that when my kids get older, they can look back and remember a healthy childhood, that they can remember their mom was not just providing financial needs, but she was emotionally there too. I instill in them that we're a family, and it doesn't matter how good or bad you do in school, or, if your behavior is okay or not today, I'm still going to love you the same. After I completed my bachelor's degree in psychology, I enrolled in a master's program for to be a school psychologist. But after working here for a year and becoming really involved in the work and uplifting the youth and feeling supported by, my team, I switched my career plan, my education plan, to do something that's more, beneficial to my goals and what I'm doing here at Saving Innocence. This is a job that I see myself continuing doing long term, because it's not just, for me, it's not just I'm employed here. It's I get to relive my childhood and make it more positive, because the kids have a similar background to mine, and I can give them the type of support that I did not have when I was a kid growing up in the system.
Thank you so much for sharing parts of you that, you didn't have to, and you allowed us in. You're already doing amazing things at Saving Innocence, and I know that they're so lucky to have you, very blessed to have you on a team, and just, you're making an impact, sis. You're making an impact on these kids' lives, and it's permanent. You're being that person that they've never had in their life, and they're watching you. They're learning from you. They're gaining wisdom from you, and they need you. And a lot of times, even as advocates, we need them. But you already know you rocking this thing. You're going to continue to go high, high places.